we were kids together.
Yeah.
And she's always been there. So it was a strange thing. I didn't know whether I would be able to carry on.
Yeah.
And I just didn't know. But I thought, well,
Tom Jones's wife, Linda, made him promise something on her deathbed that broke his heart. After 59 years together, she was dying of cancer. In her final moments, she begged him not to fall apart when she was gone. Linda died in 2016, and Tom kept that promise. But the cost was devastating. Now, 85 and alone in London, he talks to her photos every night. His health is failing. He collapsed on stage in 2022. The loneliness is killing him slowly. What Linda asked him to do might have been the cruelest thing of all. Tom Jones was born as Thomas Jones Woodward on June 7, 1940, in Pontypridd, South Wales. He came into the world during a time when Britain was struggling through war and hardship. His father, also named Thomas, worked deep underground in the dangerous coal mines. His mother, Frida Jones, stayed home, trying her best to care for Tom and make ends meet. The family lived in a small terraced house on Laura Street. Life was tough. Money was always tight. The town echoed with the sound of coal trains, the clang of metal, and the voices of miners who, like Tom's father, worked long shifts for very little pay. But the streets of Pontypridd also rang with song. Welsh choirs and hymns filled the air, and this music became the first sound Tom truly loved. Tom's father came home every night covered in coal dust, his face lined with exhaustion. The work was dangerous. Explosions and cave-ins were common in the Rhondda Valley mines. Many miners, including Tom's father, worked 10 hours a day, often earning only a few pounds a week. Their home was cold, heated only by a small coal fire. Tom wore patched hand-me-downs, and the family often had to stretch what little they had to get by. Even after the war, rationing made life hard. Simple things like meat, sugar, and clothes were hard to find. Yet through it all, Tom watched his father's determination and his mother's quiet strength, and it filled him with a desire to one day make life better for them all. By the age of 5, Tom's voice was already turning heads. He sang in the church choir, where even adults stopped to listen to his powerful voice. The church was the heart of the community, and music was everywhere. Tom's mother, despite having very little, always found a way to support his talent. She saved small coins to buy him records or bus fares so he could sing at local events. For Tom, standing on a stage was like stepping into another world. The music lifted him above the poverty and struggle, if only for a little while. Those early performances gave him the confidence that would later help him take on the world. School was not easy for Tom. He struggled with undiagnosed dyslexia at a time when such challenges were misunderstood. Reading and writing were hard for him. Teachers often thought he was lazy, and he felt frustrated and lost. But at night, Tom found hope in music. He tuned into the BBC and listened to American blues and R&B. The voices of Mahalia Jackson, Little Richard, and Elvis Presley seemed to speak directly to him. Their passion, their sound, it all felt like a promise of a bigger, brighter world. He listened closely, copying their style, slowly creating a voice all his own. Music became his escape, his secret weapon against a world that didn't always understand him. As Tom grew, he never tried to hide where he came from. His coal mining background became part of his image. When he became famous in the 1960s, people saw him as the miner's son, who made it big through talent and hard work. Songs like "It's Not Unusual" made him a star in 1965. Fans loved that he stayed true to his roots. His deep voice and powerful stage presence felt real, shaped by years of struggle. And even after he became a global sensation, Tom often spoke about his past, reminding the world that his success came from his family's sacrifice and the strength of his Welsh heritage. At age 12, Tom's world changed again. In 1952, he was diagnosed with tuberculosis. Back then, it was a terrifying illness, especially in working-class towns like his. Tom was forced into quarantine for 2 years. He was shut away in a small room in his house, unable to go to school, play outside, or even hug his friends. His world shrank to 4 walls and a window. People were so afraid of the disease that neighbors avoided his house, and family members wore masks and gloves when they brought him food. Every day brought coughing fits, fevers, and fear that he might not survive. From his window, Tom watched life go on without him. He saw his friends playing football and heard their laughter, but he couldn't join them. It was like being a prisoner in his own home. The loneliness was crushing, but it also fueled his will to live. He dreamed of the day he could be part of the world again. Music became his greatest comfort. His parents bought him a record player, and he spent endless hours listening to American rock, blues, and gospel. He sang along, loud and full of feeling, filling the silence of his room. This was where his voice truly took shape, where the passion that would one day thrill millions was born. During this dark time, one bright light in Tom's life was Linda Trenchard. She was a local girl who would one day become his wife. Linda often passed his house, looking up at his window to give him a smile or a wave. Those small moments meant everything to Tom. They gave him hope and made him feel less alone. Sometimes they exchanged notes through friends or family. Their bond grew stronger, even through glass and distance. School was never easy for him. He battled undiagnosed dyslexia and struggled to keep up. By the time he turned 16, he had lost all interest in education. He later said he cared more about booze and girls than books or exams. So at 16, he quit school without any qualifications. His parents were shocked. But to anyone who knew him, it seemed bound to happen. He was already wild at heart and drawn to the nightlife. He worked whatever jobs he could get. He hauled bricks on building sites. He went door to door selling vacuum cleaners. These were hard jobs, but they taught him what life was like for working-class people. And they gave his future music its raw, emotional force. In March 1957, at just 16, he married his childhood sweetheart, Linda Trenchard. Linda was pregnant, and in those days, that meant marriage, no matter what. Their son, Mark, was born just a month later. Suddenly, Tom was a teenage father, trying to support a family when most boys his age were still at school. The pressure was huge. Their small Welsh community didn't take kindly to unmarried parents. Now, Tom had to provide. And he did, any way he could. He worked construction by day and shifts at a glove factory. He earned just £2 a week. He also worked at a paper mill and kept up with door-to-door sales. But it was at night that he truly came alive. He sang in pubs and working men's clubs. These gigs helped put food on the table. But more than that, they fed his soul. The smoky rooms, the rowdy crowds, they gave him a stage and a taste of the life he wanted. In 1963, things started to change. He became lead singer of a band called Tommy Scott and the Senators. Their old singer had vanished, and Tom stepped in. The band lit up the South Wales club scene. Tom's powerful voice and wild energy made every show unforgettable. He would leap from the stage, whip up the crowd, and pour his heart into every song. They became local legends, but breaking into London wasn't easy. One night, Gordon Mills, a manager from London who was also from South Wales, came to the club. The moment he heard Tom's powerful voice, he knew he had found something special. Mills made a deal with Tom's managers at the time Godfrey and Glastonbury. They agreed to give up their rights in return for 5% of Tom's future earnings. This deal would later cause major legal fights. Mills moved Tom to London and gave him a new name, Tom Jones. The name came from the 1963 film, and it helped Tom appeal to both British and international fans. This wasn't just about changing a name, it was the start of a new life for the young singer. But Tom's first big step into music almost ended in disaster. In late 1964, his first single, Chills and Fever, was released. It flopped completely. The song had energy, and Tom's voice was strong, but it didn't catch on. No one bought it, and it didn't chart at all. The failure hit hard. Tom was broke. His wife Linda had to work in a factory to make ends meet. Tom was close to giving up. He felt lost and defeated. But Gordon Mills wasn't ready to quit. He got Tom to record a demo of a new song, It's Not Unusual. That song had been meant for Sandy Shaw. Tom begged for a chance to record it himself. Mills agreed. It was a last hope. If Chills and Fever had done even a little better, Tom might never have recorded the song that changed his life. It's Not Unusual came out in February 1965. The song took off like a rocket. By March 13, 1965, it hit #1 on the UK charts. In the US, it reached #10 on the Billboard Hot 100. The bold brass sound, the energy, and Tom's voice caught everyone's attention. It wasn't just a hit. It made Tom Jones a star, known on both sides of the Atlantic. Soon, he was on TV shows like The Ed Sullivan Show. His life changed almost overnight. One song had turned a struggling singer into a household name. That same year, Tom's voice became tied to the world of movies. In 1965, he sang 2 major film theme songs. The first was What's New Pussycat, which showed off his fun side and reached #11 on the US charts. The second was the James Bond theme, Thunderball. The producers had planned to use a song called Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, but they changed their minds. They wanted a song with the film's title. Tom was brought in. When he sang the final note, he held it so long and with such force that he fainted. The room was spinning when he opened his eyes. Thunderball became his 3rd US top 40 hit. His strong, dramatic style made it one of the best Bond themes ever. These songs linked his name forever to 1960s Hollywood and its glamour. By the end of 1965, Tom Jones had done the impossible. He was one of the most famous voices of the British invasion. In Las Vegas, he was earning $100,000 per week. That's nearly $1 million per week today. His shows were wild, with women throwing undergarments on stage. In Vegas, he met stars like Elvis Presley and Frank Sinatra. Both admired him. Tom proved that a working-class boy from Wales could win over the entertainment capital of the world. Tom Jones arrived in Las Vegas in 1967, and everything changed. He started at the Flamingo and quickly became the face of the Strip's wild, glittering nights. By the late 1960s, his shows were so packed that he was making $100,000 every week. Today, that would be over $500,000. He stood shoulder to shoulder with stars like Elvis Presley and Frank Sinatra. Crowds filled the venues, waiting for hours just to see him perform. His run in Vegas lasted until 2011, an incredible 44 years. During this time, he sold over 100 million records. His concerts became famous not just for the music, but for the wild scenes of women tossing underwear onto the stage, a sign of just how much he thrilled audiences. Jones didn't just sing, he made people stare. He would stride out in tight leather pants and loose, open shirts, dripping with sweat. His shirts were often unbuttoned down to his navel. His leather pants left little to the imagination. In a time when most stars were still dressing conservatively, he shocked people. He danced with bold hip thrusts that left audiences breathless. Some called it animal magnetism, some called it disgraceful. But it worked. Women screamed, fainted, and fought to get close. Jones broke the mold and opened the door for other male performers to show their sexuality on stage. By 1969, he was ready to take on television. His variety show, This Is Tom Jones, ran for 65 episodes until 1971. It was a hit in both America and Britain. The show got him a Golden Globe nomination and featured unforgettable duets with Janis Joplin, Aretha Franklin, Stevie Wonder, and Ella Fitzgerald. These were not just ordinary TV performances. They were moments that brought together different styles and generations. His show became a must-see, mixing music, comedy, and star power. It turned Jones into a global star far beyond the Vegas stage. While he wowed audiences, Jones was also building a business empire. He put his money into airlines, slot machine companies, and real estate. His smart investments made sure he stayed rich long after the cheers faded. By 2025, his fortune reached $300 million. His Vegas shows alone earned him around $25 million. With the help of his son and manager, Mark Woodward, he kept growing his wealth. Jones showed that a performer could also be a sharp businessman. On stage, his energy was unmatched. His powerful voice, hip-thrusting moves, and sweat-soaked performances reminded many of Elvis Presley. The two stars often watched each other perform. Elvis even recorded Green Grass of Home after hearing Jones sing it. But it was Tom's connection with his fans that stood out. Women of all ages, from teenagers to grandmothers, were drawn to him. The scenes at his shows were wild. Hundreds of women would rush the stage, and security often had to step in. Jones kept this excitement alive for over 40 years, but behind the glitter, the scandals piled up. At the height of his fame, Jones admitted to sleeping with about 250 groupies a year. That's nearly 5 different women a week. His wife, Linda, who married him at 16, suffered deeply. The endless headlines and whispers broke her spirit. She became depressed and withdrew from the world. Tom himself later said his behavior had scarred her and destroyed her joy. One affair in 1973 had shocking consequences. Jones had a fling with Marjorie Wallace, the first American Miss World. Photos of them kissing on a beach cost her the crown. She lost her title, her engagement to Peter Revson, and nearly her life. The scandal drove her to a breakdown and an overdose that landed her in the hospital. There were other dark moments. Cassandra Peterson, later known as Elvira, said losing her virginity to Jones was a nightmare. She was 17. The experience was so painful that she needed medical stitches. She later said she wished she had waited for Elvis. Jones also had affairs with famous women like Mary Wilson of the Supremes and presenter Charlotte Laws. His romance with Wilson was particularly scandalous at a time when interracial relationships were still frowned upon in many places. Wilson even lived with him during tours. Through it all, Linda suffered. She became a recluse in their Los Angeles mansion. She avoided public life, rarely leaving home. The woman who had once been his biggest supporter was left in the shadows, broken by betrayal and the glare of the spotlight. While Tom Jones remained beloved by millions, the damage to those closest to him could never be undone. In October 1987, Tom Jones was 47 years old and riding high on his fame when he began a U.S. tour that would change his life forever. While in New York City, he met a 24-year-old aspiring model named Catherine Berkery at a nightclub. What started as a chance meeting quickly became a whirlwind 3-night affair at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. Jones was still married to his childhood sweetheart, Linda. but his reputation for womanizing was no secret. He had once claimed that at his peak, he slept with up to 250 women a year. 3 months later, Catherine discovered she was pregnant. When she reached out to Jones's team, she got a cold reply. "That's showbiz, darling. Do what you have to do." On June 27, 1988, she gave birth to a boy named Jonathan. The child's existence would become a scandal that haunted Jones for decades. Jones refused to admit he was the father. This denial lasted over 20 years and forced Catherine to go to court in 1989. The legal fight was messy and public. Jones's lawyers attacked Catherine's character and tried to paint her as a gold digger. A DNA test was ordered by the court. It showed with 99.76% certainty that Jones was Jonathan's father. The judge, Judith Shendlin, who would later become known as Judge Judy, ruled in Catherine's favor. But even after the truth was proven, Jones kept his distance. He did not accept Jonathan as his son publicly for almost 2 decades. When he finally admitted the truth in 2008, he called it something he had not planned and blamed Catherine for seducing him. In 1989, the court ordered Jones to pay child support. Reports say it was between $1,800 and $3,800 per month. He also had to pay lump sums for legal fees and medical costs. The deal included covering private school tuition at the cost of the most expensive Ivy League schools. But while the money came, the fatherly love did not. Jones stayed away. He didn't visit Jonathan, avoided court hearings, and had no personal contact. In interviews, he would say he had only one child, Mark, the son he shared with Linda. For Jonathan, that rejection left a deep wound. As Jonathan grew up, he often spoke about his wish to meet his father. He gave interviews, sharing how lonely it felt to be ignored. In 2018, at age 30, Jonathan was homeless and trying to start a singing career. He made a plea through the press, saying, "I want to see him before it's too late. I'm not after his money. I just want to know him." He talked about how, as a boy, he imagined Jones looking at him from the stage or hoped to stop one of his concerts just to be noticed. But Jones never responded. All of this showed a darker side of Tom Jones. On stage, he was charming, warm, and adored by fans. But behind closed doors, he was cold and distant toward his own son. He blamed Catherine for what happened and let his lawyers attack her in court. Even after Linda died, when many thought he might finally reach out to Jonathan, he stayed silent. The story of Tom Jones and Jonathan became one of Hollywood's most shocking scandals, a sad tale of fame, denial, and rejection. But Jones's career kept going strong. In 1988, he surprised everyone by teaming up with Art of Noise for a cover of Prince's Kiss. The song hit number 5 on the UK charts and brought him a new, younger audience. In 1994, he worked with Tori Amos on I Wanna Get Back With You. These unusual pairings showed his daring side and kept him in the spotlight. His biggest success came in 1999 with the album Reload. Released on September 16th, it was his 34th album and featured 15 duets with stars like Van Morrison, Robbie Williams, Stereophonics, and Saris Matthews. The album went to number 1 in the UK and sold over 4 million copies worldwide. Sex Bomb became a hit single, and the album earned multi-platinum awards in the UK, Germany, and Spain. That same year, he received an OBE. In 2006, Queen Elizabeth II knighted him at Buckingham Palace. The coal miner's son from Wales stood proudly with his family as he received the honor. He said it was a humbling moment and thanked his fans for standing by him. The knighthood put him alongside legends like Paul McCartney and Elton John. In 2012, Jones became a judge on The Voice UK. At 71, he joined younger stars on the panel and won over a new generation. His kindness, humor, and deep musical knowledge made him a favorite with both viewers and contestants. Even when he was briefly dropped from the show, he came back, showing his lasting appeal. Tom Jones's world fell apart in April 2016. That was when Linda, his wife of 59 years, was told she had terminal lung cancer. The news came fast, and so did the end. Linda died just weeks later on April 10, 2016, at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles. The couple had been together since they were children in Wales. Tom was on tour when he heard the terrible news. He canceled all his shows across Asia and the Middle East to be by her side. It was called a short but fierce battle. That was exactly what it was. The speed of her decline shocked everyone. Tom said the loss was so deep that he could not see a way forward. Their love story, which lasted nearly 6 decades, ended in heartbreak. Tom was left alone with a pain that would stay with him for the rest of his life. In her final week, Linda showed amazing strength. Even while she suffered, she thought only of Tom. She made him promise that he wouldn't fall apart after she was gone. She said to him, "You can't fall with me." Those words stayed with him. They inspired him to record a song called "I Won't Crumble With You If You Fall." Tom said Linda was the calmest person in the room, while he and their son Mark could barely hold it together. Linda told Tom he had to keep going, to find a purpose beyond her death. That promise became his anchor. Every time he stepped on stage, he felt Linda there with him, almost as if she was watching and laughing with him. But the pain was almost too much. Tom admitted he didn't know if he would survive the grief. He spoke of days when he couldn't get out of bed. He dreamed of Linda and woke up to the crushing truth that she was gone. Mark urged him to get help. A therapist told him, "If you don't carry on, you will die." That stark warning pushed Tom forward. He realized that stopping would have been the end. Singing was the only thing that kept him alive. Tom couldn't stay in the Los Angeles mansion they had shared. They had bought it in 1998 for $2.1 million. By the time he sold it, the house was worth $6.5 million. It was filled with memories, her favorite animal prints, her personal touches. He couldn't live surrounded by those reminders. Linda had always wanted to return to the UK, so Tom sold the house, furniture and all, and moved back to London. It was a way of letting go. The grief was so heavy that both Tom and Mark needed counseling. They were described as basket cases in Linda's final days. Tom barely left her side for the last 10 days of her life. The counseling sessions in Los Angeles helped them survive those dark times. The therapist reminded Tom not to make any big decisions right away and told him that time would help heal the pain. Tom has said that without this help, he might not have found the strength to keep his promise to Linda. Now, Tom lives alone in London. He is 85. The silence in his apartment reminds him daily of Linda. He has said, "I hear her voice. I see her a lot at night." He talks to her photos. He kept her clothes and perfumes untouched for years. The loneliness is deep. Fame and fortune cannot fill the empty space Linda left behind. Tom's health has suffered too. In 2017, and again in 2022, he had hip replacement surgeries. Years of performing had taken a toll. He now uses canes and often performs seated. In 2022, during a concert in Budapest, he collapsed and had to cancel some shows. The pain has been severe, but he refuses to retire. He says, "Time off would be death for me. The only time I'll take off is when I die." In 2023, at 85, he performed more than 50 shows. The stage gives him life. When the show is over, the loneliness returns, but on stage, he feels alive. Tom carries guilt about Linda's death. He wonders if he could have done something to save her. He questions if his time on the road left her too alone. He has even spoken to psychics, hoping for a message from her. Every song he sings now carries that weight, as if he's trying to reach back to the life they had. Tom battles the sorrow every day, but he keeps singing. It's the only way he knows how to survive.